We begin today the Gemara on Daf Ayin Tes Amud Beis, 6 lines from the bottom of the Amud, where it says Im Erchatz. So the Mishnah is discussing what Nedarim are considered to be Inui Nefesh. A husband could only nullify the Nedarim of his wife if it's something that's an affliction of the soul. So the Tanna Kama says if she makes a neder not to bathe herself, that's called an affliction of the soul. And on that, Rabbi Yossi says, no, Ein Elu Nidre Inui Nefesh. These are not considered to be a neder that are an affliction of the soul. Okay, but what's the exact words that the Mishnah used? Im erchatz ve'im loy erchatz. The neder is if I will bathe and if I will not bathe. So it's not clear what kind of a language of a neder is this. Im erchatz, if I will bathe, that's the neder. The neder, the inni nefesh is if I will not bathe. So the Gemara will explain that. So the Gemara, it said in the Mishnah, Im erchatz heichi kamar. What exactly did this person say? Okay, so before I read the Gemara inside, at this point, the Gemara is going to explain with the assumption that be'emes, even the Tanna Kama agrees that making a neder not to bathe oneself is not considered to be inni nefesh. What's the inni nefesh? The inni nefesh is like what Rabbi Yossi said. When she says, I'm not going to eat peiros in the entire world. Not eating something, that's called inni nefesh. What does the Mishnah mean when it says, im erchatz, if I bathe? If I bathe, that's just the condition of the neder. She was saying, I'm not going to eat the peiros of the world if I bathe. Okay, let's see the words of the Gemara. So now, if you're going to say, what did she say? Koinam peiros oilam malai, that I make a neder, not to have enough from any of the peiros of the world, im erchatz. And the condition of this neder was, if I bathe myself. So if so, why according to the Tanna Kama is this considered to be a neder of inui nefesh, that the husband has the right to nullify it? So lama la afara. Why would the husband have to nullify this neder? Loy tirchatz v'loy litzram peiros oilam. So let her not bathe, and let her not have any anah, and then let her not become asa, that is, to have anah from the peiros of the world. So again, like I said before, at this point the Gemara is assuming that even the Tanna Kama agrees that not bathing is not considered to be inui nefesh. The only inui nefesh is not to eat from the peiros of the world. That's why the Mishnah does not say that she made a neder not to bathe. That's not the issue. The issue is that she's not going to eat from any peiros. So if the condition is that she would not bathe, so let her just not bathe, and then she'll be able to eat the peiros. So why is the Mishnah here saying that the Tanna Kama says that these are the nedarim of inni nefesh that you could nullify? Okay. V'loy litzran that we have here in the Gemara this word elu. The Bach takes out the word elu. V'loy litzran peiros oilam Allah. And then the peiros of the world will not be asar on her. That's how you read it. Okay, now the Gemara continues asking, when Rabbi Yossi argued on the Tanna Kama, what exactly did Rabbi Yossi say? So let's again see the words of Rabbi Yossi. You have it on the top line of this Amud right over here. Amar Rabbi Yossi, ein elu nidrei inui nefesh. These nedarim are not the neder of inui nefesh. What's Rabbi Yossi saying? Rabbi Yossi is talking about the condition of the neder, or is he talking about the neder itself? He's talking about the neder itself. These nedarim is not inui nefesh. In other words, he's saying that even though she said that she's not going to eat the peiros of the world, that's not inui nefesh. So the Gemara asks, how could Rabbi Yossi say such a lashon? Furthermore, the question is, Rabbi Yossi, regarding this, if you're going to say that the case over here is that the actual neder itself was not to eat from the peiros, Rabbi Yossi would say, ein elu nidre nefesh, that these nedarim are not inui nefesh. How could that be? Dilmer rachatza, maybe she will bathe, and then the itzra peiros olam Allah, and then the peiros of the world will become asar on her. In other words, for sure, Rabbi Yossi would agree that astering yourself from eating all the peiros of the world are considered to be inui nefesh. Rabbi Yossi himself says that. So why does Rabbi Yossi use this lashon of ein elu nidre inui nefesh, that these nedarim are not inui nefesh? Now, if all Rabbi Yossi meant to say, the reason why I argued with the Tanna Kama is the point that the Gemara just said before, that there's no reason for the husband to nullify these nedarim. Just let her not bathe, and she won't become asa to eat these peiros. And that's why there's no need for the husband to nullify the nedarim. If that's what Rabbi Yossi meant to say, Rabbi Yossi wouldn't use this lashon, ein elu nidri inui nefesh. Rabbi Yossi would say, they are inui nefesh. These nedarim are considered to be inui nefesh because it's the neder not to eat all peiros of the world. But nevertheless, the husband can't nullify them because let her just not bathe. The fact that the t'nai is for the neder that she will not bathe, so not bathing, that's not inui nefesh. So let her just not be reichitz. But that's not what Rabbi Yossi says. So therefore the Gemara is asking, how could Rabbi Yossi say in this kind of a neder, ein elu nidri inui nefesh? So the Gemara answers and changes and says, so we must say that the machlokes between the Tanna Kama and Rabbi Yossi actually is, the way we understood this simply when we read the Mishnah yesterday, that they're arguing whether bathing itself is considered to be inui nefesh. The Tanna Kama holds that not bathing, not showering, that is considered to be any nefesh, and Rabbi Yosi holds that it's not. So now how do we learn the words of the Mishnah? What does it mean when it says im erchatz? The Amra. So what she said was, Kainam hanas rechitza alai, I make a neder not to have any hana of bathing, lo'ilam, forever. That was the neder itself. But then she made a condition, like the Mishnah says, im erchatz. What does im erchatz mean? The condition was, im erchatz, if I will bathe myself once, so then that will activate the neder that I will not bathe forever. I will ask myself to bathe forever. Okay, and there that Gemara spells out, Mishum hachi meifela. So therefore the Tana Kama says that the husband could nullify this neder, because now, as I said, the Gemara is changing. The Gemara is saying that Tana Kama holds not bathing is considered to be inui nefesh. So if she makes this neder with this condition, so he could nullify the neder. The heichi tavid. What should she do? Tirchatz, if she's going to bathe this one time, so then mitzra nas rechitzala, so then this will activate the neder, and she'll become usher to having any ana of bathing forever. So that's inui nefesh. Loit tirchatz, so let her not bathe this one time, so it's lo nivla. So also, she can't bathe. She can't even bathe that one time, because that's going to activate the neder. So she's going to be ugly, she's going to be disgusting. So therefore, the husband could nullify this neder. That's what the Tana Kama is saying. So basically, in simple words, the Tana Kama is saying that a neder of not bathing is considered to be a inui nefesh. It's an affliction of the soul which the husband could nullify. But the question of this Gemara is, if that's the pshat of the Mishnah, so then it still really doesn't answer why did the Mishnah use such an interesting lashon, im erchatz? Why does the Mishnah just use a direct lashon? She made a neder not to bathe herself, period. So the Ran explains that the Gemara here, according to the Tana Kama, is trying to say a chiddush. And the chiddush is that even if the actual neder did not take effect yet, because you still have to fulfill the condition in order for the neder to be activated, still, even at this point, the husband could nullify the neder because the t'nai of the neder is also a inui nefesh. Not only when the actual neder itself is inui nefesh, okay, which the husband could nullify, but even if the t'nai is inui nefesh, the husband could also nullify that. So the Mishnah wants to say this added chiddush according to the Tana Kama. Rabbi Yosi's opinion is, Efshir the loy rachza, it's not called inui nefesh, it's possible for her not to bathe. And the fact that then she'll be dirty. So for this, we're not concerned. That doesn't go into the category of inui nefesh. Okay, so therefore, the husband cannot nullify this neder. If that's the pshat of the Mishnah, it really doesn't fully answer the question we asked before. Because why? Lisni, let it say, hachi, let the Mishnah say as follows. Rabbi Yosi, when Rabbi Yosi argues, Rabbi Yosi should say as follows. T'nai zeh, this condition ain't by inui nefesh. There's no inui nefesh in this condition not to bathe yourself. That's what Rabbi Yosi should have said. What is the lashon Rabbi Yosi says? Rabbi Yosi is saying that the neder is not an inui nefesh, and therefore the husband can't nullify it. Why doesn't Rabbi Yosi say much more, a much bigger chiddush, that the t'nai is not an inui nefesh? What did the Gemara say before? The Gemara said before that let's say the case is that the t'nai of the neder is not to bathe, but the actual neder is not to eat from the peiros of the world. So therefore, the actual neder itself is inui nefesh, not to eat any peiros. Only the t'nai of the neder, which means the condition that will activate the neder, that's something which is inui nefesh. According to Rabbi Yosi, because the t'nai of the neder is something which is not inui nefesh, the husband can't nullify this, because let her just not fulfill the condition. Right? So why does Rabbi Yosi over here say that the reason why the husband can't nullify this is because the neder is not inui nefesh? Let him say a bigger chiddush. He should have said, let's say the case is that the neder itself is inui nefesh. The neder itself is that she's not going to eat the peiros, but only the t'nai is not inui nefesh. Even then Rabbi Yosi would say that the husband can't nullify the neder. From the lashon that Rabbi Yosi uses, ein elu nidrin inui nefesh, it's mashma that what he's saying is that because the actual neder itself is something which is not an affliction of the soul, that's why the husband can't nullify it. But if the neder itself would be that she can't eat from the peiros of the world, and that is inui nefesh, and only the condition that activates the neder is not going to be inui nefesh, then the husband could nullify it, because the actual neder itself is inui nefesh. But that's not true. Why should we say such a thing? It doesn't make sense. If she has no reason to activate the neder, because the condition that will activate the neder is not inui nefesh, why should the husband be able to nullify it? So the Gemara's question is, Rabbi Yosi, if we're speaking about a situation of a t'nai, Rabbi Yosi should have been talking about the t'nai. Rabbi Yosi should have said the bigger chiddush. Not only could the husband not nullify the neder itself, which is not inui nefesh, but even if only the t'nai is not inui nefesh, still the husband can't nullify it. Why doesn't he use that lashon? So the Gemara switches this answer a little bit. Ella will have to say, yes, we're talking about a neder with a condition, but the condition is a bit different. The Amra, the neder she made was, Hanoas rechitza alay loilam, I make a neder not to bathe forever. Now what's the neder? Im erchatz hayoim. If I will bathe today. So the Gemara is adding here the word hayoim. She specifically said that the condition is not that if I bathe once, then I'll never bathe forever. But if I bathe today, then I will not bathe forever. Okay, so now the Gemara doesn't explain the opinion of the Tanna Kama because it's the same like before. The Tanna Kama says not bathing forever is not considered to be inui nefesh, and for sure not bathing for one day is not considered to be inui nefesh, so the husband can't nullify that. Rabbi Yosi Savar, Rabbi Yosi's opinion is nivol dechad yoime lo yishmei nivol. The fact that she has to remain without a shower, without bathing for one day, that's not disgusting. That's not something which the husband could nullify. That's the chiddush that Rabbi Yosi over here said. Okay, so what's the pshat in the answer of the Gemara? So why taka does the Gemara not say this lashon that tnai zeh ein boy inui nefesh? So it's not clear in the Gemara's answer. How did it answer the original question over here? So the Ran brings one pshat that the explanation over here is that right now the reason why he's not talking about the Tanai, rather Rabbi Yosi is focusing on the neder itself, is because to say that the neder itself is not an inui nefesh is a much bigger chiddush than the Tanai. What was the Tanai? The Tanai was not to bathe one day. Not to bathe one day, that's much simpler to understand that that's not inui nefesh. Just one day, you can handle one day without a shower. But to say that she's not going to bathe forever, that's actually very difficult to understand. How Rabbi Yosi says that's not called inui nefesh. So therefore, the reason why Rabbi Yosi is not talking about the actual, the Tanai that is, but he's talking about the actual neder is because Rabbi Yosi wanted to tell you a chiddush. Not only is the Tanai not an inui nefesh, but I hold that even the neder itself, which is not to bathe forever, that's also not an inui nefesh. So before, when the Gemara said that basically the Tanai and the neder was the same thing. That if I bathe, then I'll never be able to bathe. If the Tanai and the neder is the same thing, there's no reason for Rabbi Yosi to be talking about the neder. Rabbi Yosi should be talking about the Tanai, and that would actually be a bigger chiddush, that the Tanai is not an inui nefesh. And then I would understand that even if the neder itself is inui nefesh, that I'm not going to eat the peiros of the world, that still there's no reason for the husband to nullify this. Just don't fulfill the Tanai, so you won't activate it. But now that we're saying that the Tanai and the neder are different, the Tanai is just for one day, and the neder is not to bathe forever. Now we understand why Rabbi Yosi spoke about the neder specifically, because it's a much bigger chiddush to say that even the neder not to bathe forever is also not inui nefesh. Okay, so that explains what the Mishnah meant when it said that her Tanai was im erchatz, because that's the Tanai on the neder not to bathe forever. So the Gemara now continues. So Shanis, you just answered me and explained im erchatz, what the Mishnah meant by this expression of im erchatz. So im erchatz is the condition of the neder not to bathe forever. That if she bathes today, she won't bathe forever. But now, how do we explain the next part of the Mishnah? Im loy erchatz. She says a neder if I will not bathe. What does that mean? Hey chidami, what is the meaning of this? So if you're going to, according to what you just said, that we're talking about a neder with a condition, and you're going to explain similar over here, that the same kind of a neder with a condition, it doesn't make any sense. Because if you're going to say the Omra, that she said, Titzar hanoas rechitza la'olam alai, my neder is that bathing forever will be asur on me, im loy erchatz hayom, if I will not bathe today. So in other words, she's sort of trying to motivate herself to bathe today. So she says, if I don't take a shower today, then I'll never be able to take a shower. Says the Gemara, so over here, why should the husband have the control or the right to nullify this neder? This is not inui nefesh, she's not going to suffer. Lama la afara. Why would he nullify this neder? Tistechi, let her just take a shower today and that's it. So if she takes a shower today, then the neder will not be activated. So we can't apply the same pshat to what we said when the Mishnah says the term im erchatz, that the condition is that I should not bathe today, to the next part of the Mishnah when it says im lo erchatz, that what the condition of the neder is if I don't take a shower today. Says the Gemara, so Rabbi Yehuda explains that when it says here in the Mishnah, im lo erchatz, that the neder will be activated if I don't shower today or I don't bathe today, what does that mean? Not just a regular bath. The Amra, her neder is hanos rechitza alayla olam, that I make a neder not to bathe forever. Im loy erchatz b'mei mishra. If I don't today bathe in mei mishra, and the water where they soak flax very disgusting, dirty water. That's what she said. So over here, the t'nai of the neder is also something which is inui nefesh, that she's making a neder to take this disgusting bath, and if she's not going to take this disgusting bath today, then she'll be also forever. Maybe that's what the Mishnah meant. Okay, so now the Gemara goes on to the next part of the Mishnah. What did it say after this in the Mishnah? The Mishnah says similar also, inui nefesh would mean regarding makeup. Im eskashet, im lo eskashet. She says a neder, if I will use makeup, or if I will not use makeup, using the same expression. So now how do we apply that to the next part of the Mishnah? So dich was similar to this pshat you're saying here, diktani, when the Mishnah afterwards says im lo eskashet, that she's making a neder that if I will not adorn myself with makeup today, then I will not use makeup forever. So what is the pshat of it? You can't say that it means that if I don't use makeup today, then I'll never use makeup, because then there's no inui nefesh. Let her just use makeup today, and then the neder will never be activated. So what are you going to have to say? What does it mean over here? Similar to what we said before, that it doesn't stop mean a bath. It means a very dirty bath. So you're going to say the same thing regarding the makeup, that the taich of the Mishnah is im lo yiskashet beneft. That she didn't mean if I don't use makeup today. She says if I don't use makeup today made from neft, made from kerosene, instead of putting regular makeup on my face, if I don't use kerosene today, then I will not adorn myself forever. That's what the Mishnah means. But the Gemara says it doesn't fit into the words of the Mishnah, because lichluchu, neft, if she's just using kerosene, that's just filth. The Mishnah would never use this lashon and say that if I don't adorn myself today with makeup, so then I won't use makeup forever, and it's referring to what? Kerosene. Maybe regarding a bath, you could say that if she bathes herself in Mei Mishra, you can use that term of bathing in flax water, in dirty water. But you can't say this pshat regarding this term of eskashet, regarding makeup. So therefore the Gemara explains, Ella, some agayis over here in the Gemara, Ella. The Gemara changes now the pshat of what im loy erchatz means. So Ella Amar Rava, that's one gersa, or here in the Gemara we have Ella Amar Rav Yehuda. Okay, so the Gemara goes through both cases again. Now the first case basically remains the same like we said before. So what was the first case of the Mishnah? She said im erchatz. What does the im erchatz mean? It's a neder with a condition. The Amra, like we said before, she said hanos rechitza oila malai. Her neder was that she's never going to bathe im erchatz hayom, if I bathe today. And now what's the second part of the Mishnah? When the Mishnah says loy erchatz is b'chlal not a neder with a condition. Loy erchatz means shvuah shaloy erchatz. She makes a shvuah that she's not going to bathe. That's what it means. Okay, so the loy erchatz is not b'chlal with a condition. Now, why does the Gemara actually switch to shvuah if it's just saying that over here, the second part of the Mishnah, the case of loy erchatz, and the Gemara is sort of ignoring the word im regarding the second part of the Mishnah. In the first part of the Mishnah, when it says im erchatz, the im means if, a condition. And when the Mishnah says im loy erchatz, the word im over here is not a condition. Im loy erchatz just means a shvuah that loy erchatz, shvuah that it will not pay. So first of all, the Gemara is ignoring the word im over here, and the Rishonim say that over here we're going to have to say the word im does not mean if. Sometimes the word im could mean like this is what I'll do. So over here, that's what the way the Gemara is understanding the word im, number one. Number two, the Gemara is switching to shvuah when it comes to this, and this is based on something that we learned a long time ago here in the Masechta, that the Gemara says when it comes to a shvuah, you cannot make a shvuah. When it comes to a neder, that is, you can't make a neder on an action. A neder has to be regarding an object. The Isser takes effect on an object. When it comes to a shvuah, a person makes a shvuah and asks himself of doing an action. So therefore, since the Mishnah used the term loy erchatz, so loy erchatz means the action of rechitza, which is a shvuah. That's why the Gemara explains that it's without a condition, and it's a shvuah. Similar regarding the next part of the Mishnah, hanoas kishut alai, that the person made, the first neder was that I make a neder not to adorn myself with makeup, la'olam, forever, im eskashet hayom, and the condition was if I use makeup today. And then when the Mishnah is said afterwards, im lo eskashet, what does that mean? Shvuah shaloy eskashet, or it was a shvuah not to use makeup. That's the pshat. That's the Gemara's final pshat in the Mishnah.
So again, you have the same kind of kishut alai im eskashet hayom, so let it be miskashet. That's what the Gemara is.
No. Im eskashet hayom. No, that's not a question. No, again, hanoas kishut alai la'olam im eskashet hayom. So that means that she can't use makeup today. And the Tanakama says the fact that she can't use makeup today, that's already inui nefesh. Just one day not using makeup is called inui nefesh. The emphasis is that you see over here, some take out, the Ran I think says, you take out the word hayom over here in the Gemara. The only reason why the Gemara before stuck in the word Hayayim was to explain that Rabbi Yossi, when he said his opinion, Rabbi Yossi could have said it in two ways. Rabbi Yossi could have said, Ein Elu Nidrei Inui Nefesh, focusing on the Neder, or Rabbi Yossi could have said that even the T'nai is not Inui Nefesh, that it's not necessary to explain that the husband can't nullify because of the Neder not being Inui Nefesh, but he could have said that the T'nai, even the condition, is not Inui Nefesh. So that's why the Gemara had to add before the word Hayayim, as I explained before. But the Ran says, right now, you don't need this word Hayayim anymore because it's easy to understand why Rabbi Yossi was not talking about the T'nai. Because Rabbi Yossi was talking about both cases of the Mishnah. Gemara now is explaining that we have one case which is a Neder, with a T'nai, Take, but then you have another case which is a Shvuah. So because he's also talking about the case of Shvuah, Rabbi Yossi doesn't want to use the lashon of T'nai, because regarding the Shvuah, there is no T'nai. So it's really, right now, it's not necessary to have the word Hayayim. You could explain it without Hayayim. That's what the Ran says. Okay, so this is the Pshat and the lashon of the Mishnah. And so again, the second case is talking about a Shavuot. So the Gemara asks on this detail, Amalei Ravina Ravashi, Ravina asks Ravashi, so hi, Elu Nedarim, Ushvuos mi bayalei, when the Mishnah begins and says, the following are the Nedarim that the husband could nullify. So if we're saying that we're speaking about a Neder and a Shavuot, so why does it just say Neder? It should have said a Neder and a Shavuot. That's what it means by Leila Misni. Amalei, so the Gemara answers, Tni, so yeah, you have to read that in the Mishnah. Elu Nedarim u Shvuos. These are the Nedarim and the Shvuos that a husband could nullify. Viba Yisayim, or the Gemara says, Shvuos, Nami Hainu Nedarim. Sometimes Shvuos is included in the language and the expression of Neder. It goes together. It's one thing. When it says Neder, it includes a Shvuah as well. Where do we see this? In the Mishnah, in the first parak of the Masechta. The Tnan, the Mishnah there said, a person uses the expression Kinidrei Rishoim. If you remember the Gemara there, the Mishnah there was talking about something that's called a Yad of a Neder, when a person is not speaking clearly. So a person said, Kinidrei Rishoim, like the Neder of Nishoim. So Nadar ben Nazir or Bekarbon or Beshvuah. So this Neder will take effect both for Naziris and both for a carbon, for a Shvuah. If he said this expression of Nidrei Rishoim, and there was a Nazir in front of him, or there was a behemoth that's a carbon there, or there was a Shvuah, so this lashon of Nidrei Rishoim, because Rishoim usually make Nedarim, so therefore it takes effect for any of these, for Shvuah as well. So we see that the expression of Nidrei Rishoim relates to a Shvuah as well. So over here as well, when the Mishnah says Elu Nedarim, it includes a Shvuah as well. Okay, now the Gemara is going to focus on the actual halacha itself, which is the machlokes, whether not bathing is called Inui Nefesh. So the Tanakama, the Rabbanan say, not bathing is Inui Nefesh. Fragt the Gemara, v'amru Rabbanan rechitze isba Inui Nefesh. Do the Rabbanan say that if one doesn't bathe, so that's considered to be an affliction of the soul, and the husband could nullify this neder of his wife? Ki loy rachza, if she can't bathe. But Amini, I'll ask you a contradiction from a Mishnah that we learned in Masechta Yuma. There it says, fal pishasa bekulon, on Yom Kippur, there are the 5 different things that a person is not allowed to do on Yom Kippur, not allowed to eat, not allowed to drink, and also one of them is not to bathe on Yom Kippur, not to wash yourself. But Ein onish kares ela b'aychel v'shaisa. The onish of kares, when it says in the Torah, v'nisim es nafshi seichem, that if you don't afflict yourself, v'nichrisa, that this kares, that only refers to someone that eats and drinks on Yom Kippur, or v'aisim malacha bilvad, or someone that does malacha on Yom Kippur. Also, there's kares for that, but not for bathing on Yom Kippur. Sorry. So the Gemara says now, v'i amrit. If you're going to say kiloi rachza, that if this woman here that made this neder, if she does not bathe, ikke inui, that this is called inui, that this is an affliction of the soul, so be Yom Kippur, so we should say the same thing on Yom Kippur. When the Torah says v'nisim es nafshe seichem, ki rachatz, if a person bathes himself, l'chayev kares, that should be included in being over and transgressing what it says v'nisim es nafshe seichem, you should be chayev kares. Amarave, so Rava answers, and the Bacher adds in, in each place, you have to look at the context of the pasuk. Gabi Yom Kippurim, when it comes to Yom Kippur, the chsiv, the pasuk there says, "Ta'anu es nafshi seichem." You should afflict your soul on this day of Yom Kippur. So what does the Torah want? That the affliction should be felt on this day of Yom Kippur itself. So therefore, milsa the yadeinu hashta. If it's something that you can feel and sense the affliction, the pain of it today on this day, so that's included in Ta'anu es nafshi seichem. That's eating, not eating and drinking. A person doesn't take a shower one day, you don't feel the affliction immediately on the day of Yom Kippur itself, so therefore it's not included in the mitzvah of Taras Nafshe Seich. But by Nedarim, the Chsiv, Kol Neder, V'chol Shvuas Isser La'anois Nafesh, any Neder Shvuah that brings an affliction of the soul. So that's Milsa Da'asiyah L'Ledei Inui. That includes not only something that she'll feel this affliction of the soul immediately, anything that will bring her pain or suffering even afterwards is also included in this. V'chilei rochza. If she's not going to bathe, then eventually Asiyah L'Ledei Inui, she'll come to an affliction of the soul. So therefore, over here, Rabbanan say it includes more. Now the Gemara asks on Rabbi Yossi's opinion. What did Rabbi Yossi say? That this is not an affliction of the soul, not bathing. So there's a question that was asked, a contradiction in Rabbi Yossi's opinion. So this is a braise regarding the halachas of a mayon. You have a spring or a stream of water, shal b'nei ir. This spring is in one city. So really the water of this spring belongs to the people of this city, and it flows, the spring flows from this city to another city. But the problem is there's not enough water here for the people of this city and for the people of the next city. So if the people of this city are going to drink this water, the people of the next city are not going to have what to drink. And if you're going to leave it for the people of the next city, so there won't be anything here. Right? But it's really their water, it's their spring, it's their stream. So what's the halacha? Chayeyem v'chayei chayim. If it's a question of pasha drinking water for them to live, or the people of this city following them to be able to live. So chayeyem kaidman, their life comes first. Right? As it always says that v'cheyechicha imach hayecha kaidman, that if your brother lives with you, you can't give away everything if you yourself are going to die and you give it to someone else. Over here, you have to leave the drinking water for the people of this city before you give to the people of the next city. If the water is needed for the behemoths of this city and then there's behemoths of the other city, so the water that's needed for the drinking of the behemoths of this city also comes before the behemoths of another city. It's also learned from a pasuk that you only give for someone else what he needs after you take for what you need for yourself. You don't have to give away when you will not have for yourself anything. If the issue is regarding laundry, using the water for the laundry, so it's a question of whether you'll use it for the laundry of this city or the laundry of the next city. Their laundry comes before the laundry of the next city. If it's a question of whether the next city will have drinking water and this city here where the water originates from needs the water for their laundry, so then I say that the life of the people of the next city that needs it for drinking is going to come before the laundry of the city, even though it's their water. But they only need it for the laundry, and the next city needs it for the drinking water, so you have to leave it for them. Rabbi Yossi says, even the water that you're going to be using for their laundry comes before the drinking water for the other city. They have to leave the water, or they keep the water for themselves for their laundry and not give it to the other city that needs it pashut for drinking water. So most Mefarshim over here say, the aflaw here, others say in the Pshat in this Gemara, it doesn't literally mean that without giving the water to the other people in the next city that the pasha are going to die. If it's mamish bekuach nefashos, Rabbi Yossi would not say that you use the water for your own laundry and the people in the next city are going to die. What it means is the people of the next city don't have their own drinking water and they have to schlep water from who knows where, and it's a big terche. So therefore Rabbi Yossi says, in the end of the day, it's not bekuach nefesh, so therefore the laundry, this is our water, belongs to them. So they don't have an obligation to give the water to someone else, because if they can't do laundry, they're also going to be in a lot of pain. Wearing dirty clothing is also an issue, so therefore they keep it for themselves. Okay, so what do we see from this braisa? Says the Gemara, hashte kvise, when it comes to laundry. Rabbi Yossi yesh batzar. What Rabbi Yossi is saying over here is that laundry is something. If you're wearing dirty clothing, then there's such pain in this that therefore he says this comes before the tircha of the other city to get themselves drinking water. So guf kulay loy kol shekain. So most definitely shouldn't Rabbi Yossi agree when it comes to bathing your body? For sure, Rabbi Yossi should say that this is something that's inui nefesh. It's an affliction of the soul. If you can't bathe yourself at all, so how could Rabbi Yossi say in our Mishnah that a wife that makes a neder not to bathe herself, that this is not called an affliction of the soul, and it's even less of a problem than not doing laundry? So the Gemara answers, Amri, they said, actually, this is the case. Yes, kvise alime le Rabbi Yossi. According to Rabbi Yossi, wearing dirty clothing is worse than not showering. Why? The Amar Shmuel, because Shmuel said, "Hi arvu visa." This arvu visa, a person that doesn't take care of his hair and his hair gets all knotted up and it's not clean as hair, the reisha of the hairs of his head, masil de avira. This can cause a person to become blind. Arvu visa, the money. If a person has The dirty clothing, what will this cause? Masilidei shamu misa. This brings a person to go crazy. A person loses his mind. A person wearing dirty clothing is so it's mamish drives a person crazy, and that's something that's very bad. It's even worse than not showering. Arvuvisa de gufe, but the dirty on the body, masilidei shichni v'kivi. This will bring a person to have boils on his body. So why is not having clean clothing worse? Because not having clean clothing, which will drive a person crazy, once a person loses his mind, he won't be able to heal himself, or it will be very difficult to heal himself. If a person has boils on his body, or he has other issues that comes from not showering, that's something that a person can heal himself from easier. So therefore, Rabbi Yossi says, real inui nefesh is actually more by not laundering your clothing than even not showering. Okay, b'chlal, this whole Gemara here where it says that a woman makes a neder never to bathe and shower in her life, that it's still not called inui nefesh. And here you see the Gemara says even to the point of shchin is very interesting. That's still not called inui nefesh. I saw in one pshat that one of the Mefarshim says that her neder was not to bathe herself with a hot shower, warm water, but in a cold shower she still will be able to take. So therefore, maybe that's what Rabbi Yossi said. It's not inui nefesh. It's not the end of the world. Okay, but the pshat in the Gemara is kipshutei. I mean, the simple pshat is that even without any shower at all, it's not called inui nefesh.